morning, everyone that has joined us. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about networking. And I had this later in the year, but Tina made a really good comment last week about thinking about what doing the stuff that we were good at when we got started, and then kind of, I don't want to say giving up on it, but getting busy and not doing the very simple tasks. And I use the term of going back to the basics and how I built my business. And I also felt like this is a good time for me to introduce myself. You guys can kind of get to know me a little bit. And if you guys have questions about myself or my team, can kind of see where I come from. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of like my basics, how I got started, because I got started in real estate when I was 20 years old. 21 years old. And so it's been a little bit now, but I think back of like with the shifting market in the last 3 years, really getting back to the basics. I tell myself that I think every month, and then I still am not doing the tasks I need to do. And so I'm hoping it's like you have to teach it to really do it. But has anybody here ever focused on networking or community or sphere? Does anybody here also focus on that? All right, Tina. Um, all right, Hillary. Okay, now that you're back in your community too. Um, awesome. But okay, perfect. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me make sure I have everything ready. And oh, I actually remember the name of it now. Have you guys ever heard of core coaching? Core. It's like think of yeah, like m most coaching programs, but like it was mainly focused, I think, for lenders. I think additionally, my lender started me in core coaching when I first got started, and they gave us these success trackers, and I used it ritually when I first got started. I have like a binder full of my success trackers because I did a lot of networking. Now what's awesome is I actually use a CRM to be able to do that. But for me, sometimes pen to paper, I like doing that a little bit better. And then I add it to my CRM after the fact. Because I'm a very visual person. And so I use that success tracker. I'm trying to find it. I have a bunch printed out at my office, but if you guys want an idea of it, let me know. I can send that over to you. But that's what I'm going to kind of talk about a lot here is just generally networking. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about how I got started right here. So who am I? So I am the benefit of like where I am in networking is just I was born in Sioux Falls. So I went to high school here. So I knew a lot of people in Sioux Falls, but the lack when I got into real estate is I was 21. So a lot of people didn't want to use a 21-year-old, or I didn't have the confidence in myself to feel like I could um, market to people. And so I actually started by going to people I didn't know. So I started going to different networking events. Um, and when I was in college, I actually went to career fairs because I knew I was going to be a real estate agent. I went to career fairs to network with the recruiters because they were from Sioux Falls, so I could get connected with them, not to get a job, but to just get connected with more people. And so that was what my intention was, is I just knew I had to meet the most amount of people because I didn't come from a family that knew a lot of people or knew a lot of people with lots of money. And so going back to Sioux Falls is I just had my friends, if that makes sense. Um, but when I say networking, what do you guys initially think about? Anything?
Talking to other people about business. I mean, I think of networking as primarily business because social
Business, yeah.
would be like socializing. Whereas networking, I feel like there's like a purpose behind it is to build like business relationships.
Mhm.
I look at networking as meeting new people, adding them to my sphere, and then focusing on them to create deeper relationships.
Yeah, definitely. So that's like what I really like about networking. And I focused on networking because I wasn't going to pick up a phone. And I also wanted to have fun at business as well. And so I take all of what when I sit down with an agent and they say they want to do networking, I'm like, well, what are you passionate about? Because whatever you're passionate about is what you're going to show up to. And so, for example, these are a lot of the things I'm passionate about is like I'm passionate about my college. So I got involved in my college's alumni association. I'm passionate about my dogs. So I talk to as many people as I can at the dog park. Um, I'm passionate about powerlifting. So I'm the only real estate agent, shocker, that's involved in powerlifting. And so just different things. I tell people like if your focus is networking, make a list of the things you're passionate about because those are also going to be the people you're going to connect with the best, and they're going to be the people that trust you the most. And I'm also really competitive. So finding different sports or different like young professional organizations um, has always been a key factor in my business as well. So it's just like figuring out who I am and what I like to do. And it's shifted from what it started out when I was 21. I went to a lot more happy hours and young professional events when I was 21. And to now it's a lot more intentional networking and coffee meetings. So it's figuring out where you are in life and what you're passionate about and what you have time for. Because as you see, we have little ones at home now. So I intend to be home a lot more. So, um, so this is actually one of my favorite quotes is your network is your net worth. And I'm sure people have heard the quote was like, um, it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And also like going into networking and just in people you know, and people always ask me like why I went to college. I went to college because of the people I was going to meet in college. There's one guy who I've sold enough homes to that I met in college that has paid for my college. So if we look at instead of it as an expense, but as an investment of different organizations or different things like that, um, you can make it worth it. So, any questions or comments so far on networking, or anybody have like a really awesome networking experience? They met somebody in like a really unique way, or they met somebody at a networking event that's actually grown into um, an awesome client or forever client or anything like that.
I'll share
Um,
one on behalf
oh
of
yeah, go ahead.
Josh, who isn't
Yeah.
here. So Josh and I went to one so to practice networking. So because network and I'll send you, I have a list of networking questions that I use.
Mhm.
So I'll send that to everybody if you'd like it. But anyway, so I had met the lady that was in charge of the networking event that was over the whole umbrella over the whole Midwest region. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, you need to meet Josh because they have some specific things. Well, it turns out that when they introduced them, it was actually a relative of his. And so they've connected, and she was literally the head of the whole thing. So we went into this we just found it on LinkedIn, went in blind kind of thing, and ended up that was an amazing connection. So you never know who you're going to meet or who you're going
Yeah,
to.
that's huge. Um, and also like I remember attending my first networking event. Um, It was I had to be 21 to go to this organization. It's our Chamber of Commerce. It's probably been one of my it not probably it is the best organization I have joined. It's our Chamber of Commerce's Young Professionals Network. And I joined the day after I turned 21, and I sat in my car for a half an hour talking myself into going into this event. Um, and it's been 9 years since I joined that organization. And I will be completely honest, it took 4 years to get a solid ground, because just creating a name for myself within that organization. But in that, since that 4 years, I am now the real estate agent of that organization. I am on, so if we go here in this year, so I'm on the steering committee, which is their leadership committee. I am now the co-chair of their Crossroads Summit. So I'm going to be on stage in front of 600 people. There's actually brokerages that tell their agents not to go to these events because Destinie already has it in the bag. Which I'm like, shoot, I want them to go because I want to recruit. But like I thank you, I guess. And so just being intentional, but also not expecting the business tomorrow. I think when you're getting into networking, if you're expecting to get business tomorrow, it's not going to work. But if you're okay with waiting that 4 years, I'm trying to count how many people on this stage have bought houses with me, probably 6 or 7 of them. And so if you are willing to wait the 4 years and build that trust and that reputation, it's the easiest business I get now because I have that reputation within the organization, and then that word of mouth continues. I have 10 years left. So I joined at a good time so I can still continue to be involved. But my 5 tactics when I first got started was the first one, it was minimum attend one local networking event a month, or sorry, a week. And from that, my favorite ones when you're first getting started, or if you're new to a community, are, I don't know if you guys ever have speed networking events. We don't have as many as we used to, but we used to have a lot. I got involved in like our startup community. I know Indy has a huge startup community, or at least they did, like co-working spaces and different things like that. I got involved in those because there are a lot of just really hungry people who want to meet more people as well. And so I started going to those. And so then you only have to talk to them for a minute. And if it doesn't go well, you can move on. And then every time I'd leave a speed networking event, I would send them a card of a nice to meet you after with my business card. So they were always getting a second touch because you're meeting 20 people in that organization. And then I always like make a note of like something we talked about. So those networking events were huge, and attending like a big one, people are going to hate me for saying this, but don't attend with a friend. Don't go with a friend, because if you go with a friend, it's much harder to go up to new people. And if you're sitting and talking to a friend the whole time, you're going to be a lot less likely for people to come up to you. It's odd, but I always tell people to get out of your comfort zone. And so I don't know if any of my agents are on here. I will more than likely go with my agents. I bring them to stuff all the time, but I will wander off because I want them to meet new people, and I want them to branch off and go talk to new people. Or I'll try to introduce them to somebody and walk away. So that's, people don't like me for saying that a lot. It's don't attend with a friend, or make sure that you split up and reconvene in the end. I know, Tina, if you have anything to say about that one.
Yeah, I've gone with friends before, but with the intention of introducing each other. So I think, so I do everything you're saying. I love what you're saying. So, and I am an ambivert or whatever it is. So I'm not really an extrovert. So I have to get myself all psyched up before I go in. And I always set a goal. Like I want to connect with 3 people and then I'm out of here. So that helps me a lot. So keeps me focused. I don't know.
Yeah,
Love everything you're saying is so good.
yeah, like that goes back to what Chris's call said on Friday, is gamifying it. Okay, I need to leave with 5 business cards. Because if I leave with 5 business cards, I also don't ever go, I try not to hand out my business card. I try to get other people's business cards so then I can send them something later. I can mail them a business card or figure out where they work, that type of thing. And setting up that follow-up coffee or lunch meetings with just new people. And I know, Tina, you said you had some questions, and if we could send those out, that'd be awesome. My favorite question to end every meeting with is either how can I help you or who can I introduce you to? I'm never asking them for something, especially when it comes to networking or a first meeting. It's who can I help you move your business forward? Because if you're always pouring into people, it comes back to you, definitely. And it gets around in the business community. Volunteering for at least one event a month. Um, it's hard to kind of pick one organization, but I usually try to focus on one or two just organizations and not a bunch of different organizations so you can be really well known for that organization. I'm going to use actually not even me, but a girl in our community. Her name is Katie Day. Um, she's like on Good Morning America, and the woman saves hundreds of dogs a month. But she is known for being she's the chair of a dog rescue. So just figuring out like what your passions are and what you care about. Because that's another group of people that you can help by giving back to your community, but it's also people you have a similar interest in. Um, and then finally is joining a weekly sport or group. Um, one of the best ones I did was volleyball. Just joining a a group of people, and you can get into random ones or um, with your friends or different things like that. I ended up creating one within our Young Professionals Network. I posted and said, "Hey, I'm trying to create a team of 6," and then you're seeing the same people over and over again, and then communicating with the people. The goal is to also communicate with the other teams and the other people who are constantly going at the same place. Um, Different tactics that I've heard about at trainings would be as I know some people go to the same coffee shop every day. I know that's a big one that KW teaches. I can't remember who taught that, but he go to the same coffee shop every day and just being really well known within that community. But does anybody do any of these things currently? No.
I do almost everything you do, except I'm not doing it enough.
Yeah, that's
I love it.
that's me too. We had our leadership meeting yesterday for our Young Professionals Network, and they were talking about how many events people attended. And I was like, gosh, I need to get better at that again. I used to be so good. Um, and it's just something that they're on my calendar. And like you said, well, also I'm just in a different phase of life. I need to talk myself into going and talking to people more now. Um, but this is actually a quote I just found today is the true value of networking doesn't come from how many people we can meet, but rather how many people we can introduce to others. So that was really fitting for like the questions I ask is how can I help you? And so I attempt to be a connector and I attempt to just help people build their businesses. Um, and it's been really beneficial because they want to come back and help my business. Um, and they're posting about it or doing different things. My problems is I want to get involved in too many things. And so I'm needing to take a little bit of a step back um, from some networking items. So, um, but any takeaways here from networking or things that you want to start implementing into your business? I don't know if anybody like had networking on their business plan this year,
It's
besides
for sure
myself.
one of my pillars and always has been. And I love the thing about connecting because that's a good reminder to also make sure that we're doing that with our clients. I have a current client right now who we were talking about what I knew the wife, but didn't know the husband and what he did. And and he does rental properties. Anyway, I've been able to connect him with several people. And yesterday he was like, we, in our little group of friends, all have always used the same realtor. And no, that realtor's never once connected me with anyone. and we have a lot of business people in our circle. So we're going to be sure to connect you with everyone in our circle. And basically, they're like, move that real estate business from him over to you. So
I think that's huge because a lot of people will say like, oh, that group already has a real estate agent or that group already does that, but you never know. I got a referral from somebody who her best friend was a real estate agent. And so you just never know who people are going to use or feel comfortable with. And so being kind and just being nice to people and being available and being that expert, you just never know who you're going to get that referral from. And I got it from just being involved in the community and touching base with other people that because especially being from Sioux Falls, now there's other people who I went to school with who are getting licensed. But it's also being nice to them because you never know how long they're going to be in or what their goals or their businesses might pivot into different things there. So networking has been a huge passion of mine because I I don't like doing the other things, and I like to make business fun. And networking has been a way for me to make business fun, not only for like networking for clients, but networking with other agents too, because I've been able to learn a lot about what's happening in our real estate community and what's going on, just being involved in some other organizations there as well. Especially since I'm in the investment world, being involved with other realtors has been helpful to get off-market transactions with my rental properties and investors and work that market too. So. But any other takeaways before we end this call today?
I think it's just like anything, and it's a good reminder. You just have to be consistent and keep doing it. Like it's again one of those things we know we need to do, and it also won't pay off. Like you said, it's like you had a 4-year commitment, and I'm like thinking like my initial limiting belief is like I never would stick it out that long.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Because other pillars
Mhm.
of the business work, but it's also like you just have to choose what you're willing to do and how you want your business to run. You know what I mean? Like it can work. You just have to commit to it.
Yeah, and I think exactly what you said, because like other pillars do work. I had a lot of time on my hands, and that's why I stuck to that one that took 4 years. And now it's very passive. So I put it's a lot of time and energy in the beginning, a lot. And then it becomes very passive because as those people get to know you, they start sharing your name. Um, and doing it's very similar like with agent referrals and doing different things like that. It becomes a very passive business once you have that reputation created in
I'm
your
too
community.
impatient. Imagine that.
Crazy. Yeah, and I will say I also was 20.
Yeah.
So I had no idea what I was doing. I was winging it. If I had the right tools that I had today, I could have cut that time like in a fourth. I could have done it in a year or two. So I didn't have the tools that are available today. I didn't have a database. I didn't have anything. I wasn't running my business necessarily as effectively as all the tools that especially we have with Place. So it's crazy what we could do today, especially with social media has even come a long way in 9 years from when I started with networking. So, and that's another way for networking as well. So, um, well, anyway, I hope everybody is staying warm. Thank you so much for joining us today, this Wednesday, and I hope to see you guys next week.